was a movie, and it started now, forget about whatever financial disasters you've had, personal failures, relationship failures. What would the hero of your life's movie do right now?
Hello and welcome to Dad's Dating After Divorce, the only podcast helping us dads to navigate the very interesting, fun, challenging, and exciting world of dating after divorce. My name is Jude Sandoval. I am the founder of The Divorced Advocate, and my co-host, as always, is Dallas Bluth, the founder of Black Box Dating. How you doing, Dallas?
Doing fabulous, Jude. Ready to go.
Good. Yep, we're back at it this week, and we've got one of those kind of high stakes moments in post-divorce dating that we're going to be talking about. It's the world where dad life and dating life collide, and that is when and how to introduce your kids to your new romantic interests. So I just want off the bat, having done this several times and talking to dads about this, I just want to acknowledge there's a lot of tension around it oftentimes, like for everybody, for the dads, for your romantic interest, for the kids, like everybody. And so there's a few things I just want to lay the ground. Like there's a few things that I think are the big things that dads fear. And so I'm just laying this out for us. And probably the biggest fears, one, are confusing the kids when you're doing this, right? It's especially depending upon their age, because younger, you're no longer together with your ex, but then there's another woman. And then depending on that age, conceptualizing and understanding why there's another woman. Is this mommy? Is this a new, what is it? That's kind of a big fear. Another big fear is the new partner getting rejected, right? So that's a tough one. And
which rejection are we talking? Who's rejecting who in this scenario?
The kids rejecting the new the new partner, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this happens more so with older kids, right? That they like their mom, and they're used to their mom, and now there's a new person around. And then the third one, which is a very legitimate one, especially if you have high conflict or somebody that's not quite mentally, emotionally stable, and you'd be surprised about this, but your ex-wife freaking out and causing problems and creating issues and doing all of that stuff. And that's something that's very common with a certain type of personality disorder out there that triggers stuff. So, and not all guys are aware that stuff happens.
This is like a box truck full of complications. And let me just say, so anybody just joining the podcast that just listen, this is the first episode. So I don't have children. So
yes,
not that I'm talking out of my ass in this episode, but I don't have the real world experience of being the dad, protecting my own offspring. That's not where I'm coming from. I've definitely been introduced to women's kids, so I can speak to it from that point of view. I just want to throw that out there and just go, let me just say, I'm really grateful at the moment that I don't have so many complications to bring into the mix. And I have nothing but respect, compassion, and support for the guys out there that have to navigate all this.
Yes. Well, I'm very interested to get your feedback, because you have been on the flip side of this. And while the dynamic might be a little bit different, it's really generally, I would say, the same concepts and the same things that we're going to be talking about. We're going to talk about some general rules around how you should do it, when you should do it, with the kids' readiness, stuff like that. So you've experienced that. I've got plenty of experience of this on my side, and as always, I've got quite a few opinions about what's going on.
I would expect no less from you, Jude.
Of course you wouldn't, right? And then of course I do have my notes, right? So I did document all of those opinions in my notes. So let's start first with timing. And we talked, maybe it was, I don't know if it was last week or the week before, about some general rules of kind of about dating, taking some of the seasons getting through all 4 seasons post-divorce to get into your groove with your kids, new environments, getting your head on straight, figuring out what we talk about all the time is your values and beliefs and what you want to do and the intentions around dating and all of that stuff, which I think is a really good general rule for dads doing that. So kind of the divorce dust rule, if you will, is number one, make sure you're divorced first.
You mean finalized, right? The divorce is finalized. Ink is on the paper, filed with the county, and
so look, a lot of these, I am speaking from making the mistakes around this, and this was one of them. Like, I introduced my kids before I was divorced.
What happened? What happened when you made that mistake?
So it actually turned out really, really well. The woman that I introduced them to was a terrific woman and was very kind to my daughters and had a very positive influence on my daughters. Now, our relationship was chaotic and a mess and just not really, really positive. And the drawback to that was that it didn't last long term, right? So unfortunately, and they were younger, right? They were like 5, 7, and 9. Yeah. So that is disappointing in the respect that, they didn't have a long-term relationship with somebody that was a role model for them. Yeah. Although this particular individual did stay in their lives as a friend for many, many years post-divorce. So it worked out really well. In hindsight, going back, I was doing plug and play. Like, the one's leaving. I'm going to plug somebody else in new to that. And guess what? I basically plugged in, at least from a relational dynamic, a very similar person to who I was divorcing. Oh, imagine that, right?
Your daughter's like, Dad, this woman's a lot like Mom.
Crazy, huh? Yeah. So I didn't do everything we talk about, which is the inventory, understanding, figuring out your relational dynamic, what your values are, everything that we always describe, that you always talk about, the great advice you always, I didn't do any of that. Right. Yeah. So that's why I say don't.
Yeah. So let me speak to the other side, of the person coming into the family that's not a part of it. That question of attachment from the children. First of all, I think we need to break this down into some age groups. I'm not exactly sure what it would be, but maybe one of them is about 3-4 years old and under. You're dealing with kids that, memories aren't really forming that firmly in their minds. They don't have a strong sense of identity. I think once you get to like elementary age, maybe 5 to 10, somewhere in there, then that's a whole different kind of thing. Like, can this person take me to activities that I want to go to? I'd say that's maybe another age range. And then you got sort of early puberty, and then you got late teenage years and young adult, and you're going to be running into all kinds of different concerns of responsibility and guardianship as a dad, depending on what that age range is. So I think for all the guys listening to this, you're going to have to adapt the advice, adapt the approach to the age of the children that you have.
For sure.
One of my concerns as a man dating a woman with children is if and then when I get introduced to those children, what is their level of attachment going to be? And is my relationship with this woman established, and is it revealed enough? Do we know enough about each other, our compatibility, and our potential, the potential for a long-term future together? How much is that established before I get introduced to the children? Because the thing that I don't want, and I've had it happen a few times, is I'm an adult. I can handle severing attachment because I'm independent. That's what adults are. Children are dependent. So their idea of attachment is completely different. Yeah. And they form a bond on somebody. They're not expecting that person to leave.
Right.
And, and I feel like that is, when it comes to considerations of children, particularly if they're, I'd say, in that 5 to 10 age range, that's particularly important. Even in the early puberty, up to maybe about age 14 or so, the attachment is still there, particularly if the dad hasn't been around. I know we're talking about, bringing women into the situation, but I'm just laying out some of the context for me that I've really been concerned about. And I have seen not enough responsibility exercised on the part of the parent.
Right. And yeah, I call that the kid readiness check. So I just wanted the divorce dust rule that I'm calling. I just want to lay that out there. Until you have a finalized divorce, just don't.
Like, so the dust I want to lay that. The dust to settle.
The divorce
after the
dust rule is that you are completely divorced before you ever introduce your kids to somebody else, because that time frame is so chaotic. There's so much going on. There's so much uncertainty that even the most well-adjusted adults are going to have a challenge in introducing kids and dealing with that whole thing. Kids, absolutely not. Like, they have not had the time to adapt to two different environments, 2 separate households, like all that happening. And so that divorce dust rule, at least for me, is don't introduce your kids at all during the divorce until the divorce is done. So that's what I want to lay out. And then the next one, and this is debated quite a lot. And I don't like making hard and fast rules about stuff.
Yes,
but
you do, dude. You love making
these are
rules.
Not, actually I do. I like to have guidelines, like in general. Guidelines. We just call them guidelines, not rules. But the next one is guidelines. And so you started to hit on it, which I think is really important. And it's debated. Therapists and psychologists talk about it, but they talk about kind of the 6 months time frame of dating exclusively with somebody, and you started to hit on that around the reasons why that time frame seems to be a general guideline, a general rule of why. And so let's talk about why that 6 month. And you started to allude to it, but let's expand upon that.
Yeah. So one of the things that strikes me about that 6 month period is you've probably burned off the honeymoon phase. Now, I'm not saying burn it off as in you shouldn't enjoy it. Absolutely. Enjoy the honeymoon phase. Hormones are going wild. Everything is new and fun and exciting. And of course, people are perfect during the honeymoon phase. Don't skip that. Enjoy that. Really do it. But keep the kids the heck out of it. The kids should not be part of the honeymoon phase. And that takes self-restraint and discipline in order to do that. I think when you reach the 6 month point, you can start hopefully to think that, we're probably not in the honeymoon anymore. We're starting to see more of, what the person's really like. And you can see it from a sober point of view. But I imagine 6 month is the lower limit of what people put out there. I would say probably between 6 to 12 months is probably the guideline. I would say at 12 months, you definitely know much more who this person is. If things are just going to kind of fizzle out, if it was a flash in the pan and it doesn't really go anywhere, you're not going to be dating them, a year later. You're just not. So I think time is one of the factors that comes into that. The funny part in my mind is, so I get out of the honeymoon phase. I'm into an established relationship with a woman. And again, I'm talking as the single guy, and she's got kids. And I have an established relationship with her. We're out of the honeymoon phase, and we're sort of constructing, an established relationship. But there's a huge part of her life that I don't know. I haven't met her kids. And so in a certain way, I'm not dealing with the full reality of who and what she is. So there's an interim period where I have to realize, okay, I'm committed, we're carrying this forward, and I have to just hold space, I guess would be the word, for the fact that I haven't seen the full package. I don't know everything that's coming down the pipeline.
Yeah. And it's not even, like that first 6 months, I would even call, it's not even it's more like infatuation and just attraction and like just sheer physiology, right? Like you're not you're not even getting in, you haven't even spent enough time, particularly. So here's the challenge with this, and that I see oftentimes, and was one of the challenges is we've talked about like how to date, and you've got so much going on that being able to get that time and carve out that time, you're like, man, it would just be easier if we could just like do it with the kids, right? Like that's the mindset you got to stay away from.
It's
tempting. It's very, very tempting. It's very tempting.
You have to exercise discipline for the sake of the kids. To keep everybody protected. And because again, when we're in that infatuation place, and for me, when I say honeymoon period, that means we're infatuated and we're exclusive. For me, it's not a honeymoon phase if you're just dating recreationally with other women. Right. For me, the honeymoon period is you're still feeling that infatuation and you're exclusive. But when you're there, you're thinking, this is it. This is her. This is the woman. We should just go all in and take the kids. We're going to go on trips. And it's like, it sucks, because before we had kids, you jump in, the two of you, and you go for the ride and you take it. Now you have to separate. I mean, it's almost like tearing yourself apart inside, because you have, your children that you love more than life itself. And then you have this amazing connection with this woman that you have more hope in the world than you have for anything else. Right. And you can't let the two of them come together inside of you. And it's such a difficult space to try and hold for really what feels like a long time.
Yeah. And so on that point, that's why it is critical to wait as long as possible until you really have a very good a really good feeling. So you could be exclusive, right? Like we talk about in the past, how to go exclusive, how to date, like how to set up the dates. You need to really spend a lot of time dating this person to get a good feedback around what that person is like, and whether this is somebody that you want to have around your kids long term. Now, if that's not your intention, then just forget. Like, if that's not your intention, just forget about it. Don't even, unless your intention is to have a long-term relationship and blend your environment with this person's environment, whether they're single, whether they have family, just like, don't even think about it then. Yeah. Right.
And I just want to say that's a valid approach. I was a private saxophone teacher, back when I was in college. And I remember there was one single mom. I would come over, when she was there and give her son saxophone lessons. I never, ever met the dad. I don't think I ever met him. But what I learned later in life, because we became friends, me and them, what I learned later in life is she had two completely separate lives. One was the 3 or 4 days out of the week when she had her kids and she was a mom. And then she had the 3 or 4 days out of the week when she didn't. Her dating life never, ever, ever crossed that boundary. She just made the decision that they were going to be two separate lives for her. Now, it worked well because she had the kids 50-50. And I'm not trying to say that's the best way to do it, but it is a valid way to do it.
Sure. Yeah. And you know what I've found that I think women do a better job of that than men. And I've found that men tend to want to, you talk about men are blowtorches and women are ovens, but I have run into women who are like, well, I haven't even dated in 3 years. And it's like, wow, okay. that's tremendous. And they're like, well, it wasn't time. I needed to have things structured with my kids. And like, it's like, wow, that is an immense amount of discipline and self-focus and family focus, and absolutely. And I've had others who have that I've met and are like, yep, no, my children don't meet anybody, haven't met anybody. And I've met others now, at this age, like my kids have never been introduced to anybody. And I'm just waiting until they're old enough to be on their own to start dating. And, that's a sacrifice that I felt was necessary for them, which is amazing. And I've met dads that do that too, but more by and large, it's more women that do that. I don't know. It's just an observation. It's interesting, but I just mostly maybe say that for guys to just recognize that maybe that's a masculine, maybe that's a masculine thing, wanting to find a new partner, wanting to reestablish that family thing. You'd think that would be the flip side.
I think that's exactly every man that's ever cheated on his wife is trying to say, yeah, that's it. I'm always looking for my new partner. That could be very, very easily twisted around. Okay.
Right.
So I've got a question here. I've never thought through this, and I don't have any visibility or almost no visibility on this. So, okay, there's introducing the woman to your children, and they're interacting and all of that. But what are sort of the warm-up steps that you share with your children? So we'll start at the very beginning. I'm swiping on a dating app, and my daughters are there going, yeah, dad, no, dad. They're there at the very beginning before I even talked with them. Do they know when I'm going out on a date? Do I wait until I've been on 3 or 4 or 5 dates before I tell them, hey, so I've been on a few dates with somebody? When do I show them a picture of her?
Yeah.
And I know this is probably stepping over the line, but, is there a place and a moment where they maybe have heard her voice, or they maybe have even had a video call, but they haven't actually met in person? I'm curious how you pace all that out in prelude to potentially introducing a woman to your children.
Yeah. So great questions. I'm going to step it back a little bit because this is very age specific, and it really depends upon I feel the age of the children and what you should and what you can be sharing with them at any given time. So the way that I eventually started to view it when I got my shit together was this is a great opportunity to share with them dating, right? This is an opportunity that actually I would have never been able to have had I stayed married. So there would be no example with them to help them to learn and understand this whole process. Wow. Now that didn't really happen.
I got to jump in and say that is beautiful. That is amazing that, when you're in a marriage, you're modeling the marriage, you're modeling how to be loving and showing affection. But here, as a single man, you have the opportunity to model for your sons or daughters how a healthy adult can go about dating and what it should look like. I just want to say that is an amazing mindset shift.
Yeah, thanks. And I encourage the dads that do want to have a long-term relationship with somebody that are out there dating to adopt that mindset, because then what it helps you to do then is be inclusive with your children about what's going on. And part of that inclusivity is helping them to understand that it's okay, it's good, and it's healthy for you to be dating. That is natural. And that was a mindset shift that I needed to have also, which is, well, I don't need to be hiding this. Right. I don't need to be, I need to actually be sharing that, yeah, daddy has female friends. Daddy likes to go on dates. That's how I frame it.
Daddy's lonely.
Daddy's horny. No.
Yeah.
So when they're younger, that was starting the conversation. Yeah. Daddy has a female friend. Daddy's went on a date with a female friend. And, when they're younger, they don't, they're like, oh, a date, and then, but I would talk to them with it age appropriately when they were younger about what I was doing. Now, as they got older, they became middle school, preteens, and then in the teens, then that changed a little bit. Now, I've been thinking about this a little bit recently too, because of our talking about cold approaches and stuff like that. So I've never included them in the process of meeting women, but I have included them with how I go out on dates, how I ask for dates, what we do on dates, kind of the mindset around stuff, how I feel like I need to lead the dates, and some of the stuff that we talk to here, I share with them because they are that, now they're young women actually doing their own dating, right? So, but one of the things that I haven't done that I feel it would be appropriate is maybe talking to them about that, like how guys approach them. Like I talk about it with them when boys are approaching them, but I haven't been out. Like when I'm out, I don't talk to women. I don't approach, which I don't think is a bad thing, but it actually can be an opportunity to show them, hey, well, this is an appropriate way to have a nice, a warm interaction, like we talk about, like with a woman.
Yeah, I love the expression with children, more is caught than taught.
Yeah.
So when you're talking to them, you sort of see it, but it's what you model for them. And to your point, if you're hiding how you approach women or how you interact with women, how you ask a woman out, you're not modeling it for them. They're not able to actually see it and feel it. If you're like, oh, well, when a boy does this is all theoretical in their head. Right. And that's not really going to stick. So I think that's true. Also, just coming back for a minute, the preparing for a date, I believe we touched on this briefly when talking about men's style and how you dress. I think that could be a really nice way to warm up and include the children in your experience in dating.
Yeah.
Not involving the woman. They've never met her. They've never seen her, but they can see that dad's happy. He's excited. He's going out. Did you have a good time when they come back? They're involved in the process. Well, do you think I should wear this shirt or that shirt? Rather than them feeling like they're being left alone with a babysitter and there's a part of their dad that they don't have access to.
Yeah.
Involving them in that process of, well, what do you think I should wear? What would be fun? I think that in a lot of ways helps the children feel more at peace and complete and integrated, in your dating process, even before they're meeting the woman.
Yeah. And it's kind of weird, right? Because, and especially when they get older, because they start asking questions and you might be like, I don't want to ask questions. And I don't do a great job of this. And now that we're discussing it, I'm thinking cause I went out on a date last night and I come home and my girls are older. They're in and out of the house cause they're teens and they're doing stuff. And so sometimes we're just crossing, but I need to do a better job now of just having more how was it? And I'm just like, it was okay. It was good. That was it. That was all the interaction.
Dad, you're just like the boys I'm trying to date.
I know, exactly. They're like, you're a freaking teen, man. Do you have any emotion in you or what? So, I need to do, but this comes back to the whole concept. And this is the same concept if you're modeling a healthy lifestyle, you're modeling anything in your life, you need to include, you need to talk about it. You need to not have this weird stigma around it. And that's going to be the best way to prepare them for what you're doing.
And obviously this is age appropriate. You're talking about conversations you have with, preteen and teen, children. But I think even saying to them, she said this to me. If you were in her shoes and you said that, what would you have meant? And it's allowing her to really speak into it. Particularly, if you're a dad and you're talking with your daughters, they do have different instinctive insights than we do. Similarly, they might have all these questions for this woman, and it's appropriate for a young girl to ask to a woman, but it's not appropriate for a man on a date to ask a woman. And I think it's important to start to treat them, in appropriate ways as young adults and ask them, they said this, how would you feel? What would make you happy in this situation for me to say? And I know this might sound like I'm putting a burden on your kid, like they're trying to be your therapist. That's not at all what I mean. I'm talking about just like you're saying, opening up the dialogue, making it so that, as appropriate, you're sharing things. And you're providing the opportunity for some emotional intelligence discussion to take place. It's really just including them in the conversation. It's not asking them to coach you or be your therapist or anything like that. That's what me and you were for, Jude. Yeah,
exactly. Well, at least you. still learning lots of this stuff. But so the next step is kind of what I'm calling the long haul question. Is this somebody, you need to be thinking about, is this somebody that actually likes kids, right? If she doesn't have kids, does she just not tolerate them? She does have kids. Kind of, how do you feel about how she's parenting her kids? Like, that's a big question that you need to ask yourself first before you decide, well, let's introduce the kids together. Like, that conversation. And I'll tell you, Dallas, this has been the biggest and most difficult challenge for me, is the differences in parenting styles. And I would say mostly because of what I would describe as a lack of respect by most women for the importance of the way a father parents, because it's very, very different. And so I would just, guys, I'm going to be really clear about this. Having these conversations and talking about these things is one of the reasons you need to spend that 6 to 12 months before introducing, because you need to get an understanding and a gauge of where she's at, how she parents, and then how she feels about relational dynamics and dad's importance in her kiddos' lives, you in your kiddos' lives, et cetera. Because unfortunately, in our society, there is a diminishment of fatherhood and the importance of fatherhood in kids' lives. And if you're running into that with somebody, I would say, look, you're not going to change it. You're not going to change it. You're not going to have there's not going to be an epiphany, and you don't want that in your life, because it's probably a reason why her marriage or her relationship has not worked out, and you don't want to be carrying that. And it might be part of yours, but you don't want to be carrying that forward. You want to have, again, modeling something that is healthy going forward. So if you start to see those red flags, and you're not going to see those red flags right away and just having fun, or like in that infatuation period, or when you guys are like really hot and heavy and hot and bothered with each other, it's going to be in those quiet moments when you're having conversations, when you're talking about, well, her kid just did this, and what was her reaction to it? So talk about that. I'm serious about this one, Dallas, because this is really, really hard, and it will only cause more problems for you and your kiddos.
I think you're right. It takes time to reveal how a person actually parents, especially if there are no kids around. There's no parenting taking place. And you don't want to wait until the kids are around to reveal how this person parents, how you parent, and whether or not those two are compatible. And to your point, if your parenting styles are not compatible, it's easier to just move on and find someone that does have a compatible parenting style. Yeah. I think the way we'd look at this, and we touched on this on earlier episodes. I think the way to look at it is you should have essentially parenting strategy sessions with this woman before the kids are involved. And what I mean by a strategy session is, this happened with my daughters, or, what's going on with your kids. And you talk about real life events. And here we're talking first about the facts. They didn't turn in their homework for a week straight. I got a call from the teacher, and I don't know if they even still do that, but you get a call from the teacher, and you're faced with this sticky situation. And then, and so you share the facts with the woman, or the woman, hopefully you're prompting her to share facts with you. So we all know just what the situation is, separate from how we're parenting it.
Yeah. And
then, are we both having an effective strategy session as a male guardian and as a female guardian, as a mother and a father roles? Are we having an effective strategy session talking about, well, I feel like this. What do you think? Is it something that is a collaborative effort? And in those strategy sessions, that other person's parenting style will reveal itself. I think there should be a regular part of your discussions with somebody is to hash it out. And last thing I just want to mention real quick is, as a man, you need to go first in your vulnerability of being curious to really hear what her parenting style is. You need to ask her, so as a mom, what would you do when my daughter says something like this to me? Where is she coming from? You have to really be vulnerable. You can't lead with your opinion and think that that's going to open up her mind to an open exchange. It's not. You have to ask her for her opinions first if you want her in turn to accept your opinions as a dad.
Right. And I think I want to clarify. I don't think they need to be compatible as much as they need to be complementary.
Okay. Yes.
And because if it's compatible, it means it's the same and she's acting like the dad. And I don't think that's probably, I mean, there's some women
I think compatible and complementary are similar. Me and a woman are compatible. Okay. I'm more masculine. She's more feminine, but you're right. It's complementary, not the same. Yeah.
Right. And you need to know that as a dad. And I think this was a difficult learning curve for me because there was a period where I parented my daughters 100% of the time. So I was trying to be dad and mom, which is, it's impossible. It's impossible to do, but understanding your strengths as a dad and what you do well with your masculine and as a dad is important, but also respecting and understanding how a woman parents is very important too. So when you're getting that feedback and you're sharing and talking about that stuff, it's likely to be very, very different than what you might be thinking or feeling or doing. So having those discussions and having an open mind around, like I had to really open my mind to, like that's a completely different perspective on parenting, and I can appreciate how that helps. Now, it also helped having other like women in their lives that I was dating to see that in action and collaborate on that with somebody and have those conversations, which takes us then how do you introduce once you feel comfortable with this? But I think if you take anything, like this is so complicated, but if you take anything, those conversations are important conversations. Those are it's great. Talk about the football playoffs. It's great to go have fun and go to the hot spring. But you've got to be dating. You got to be having these conversations. It is incumbent upon you to be initiating and facilitating these conversations so that you can get the feedback, engage whether or not it's this important, guys. It's that important, guys, because it's your kiddo's mental and emotional state with this person. And so,
we were all dating before we got married from the gut, we're shooting from the hip. We're going with what feels good. We have to integrate much more intentionality because we have larger responsibilities. And I think in this episode, we're simply spelling out a lot of the components that need to be there to intentionally date with a woman before you bring her into your kids' lives.
Yeah. And when you do the introduction, this needs to be intentional. You need to have the conversations around the fact that they might ignore you if they're teens. They might act out a little bit.
Yeah. But just because they're ignoring you doesn't mean there isn't a whole lot going on inside.
Right.
There's plenty going on, and it takes time. And that's another reason there's that warm up period before you introduce, that woman. You want the kids to have had a chance to warm up and hopefully get to a positive place where they're looking forward to meeting this woman that makes their dad so happy.
Yeah. And some other guidelines, you want to keep the PDA to minimum to or nothing in the beginning, right? Especially if your kids have not seen you with somebody or it's not been a period of time from divorce. So help them to get comfortable with you having just another female person around in your environment. Start on neutral ground. Your home is your environment. It's kind of their safe place. Don't do it at your home. Go, to the park, have fun, go to, do something. Doing something is the best way to do it because it doesn't make it weird. It doesn't force any conversation. Activity based is really good if you can find something, again, age appropriate, or if you can find something that any teen is going to want to participate in that is
there anything off the phone?
Exactly. And then, introductions. again, this is age appropriate. It can be, hey, when they're younger, this is my friend Sarah. And it's a friend. That's not going to fly with the teens, right? So hopefully you're not going to have to worry that much about it if you've included them in the process of, like, hey, I've been, dating Sarah, and we've been on this date, and we've done this, and she does this, and she has this many kids, and like having these conversations. I'll tell you, the best place, Dallas, that I've found for conversations like this is the dinner table. Like when if you have a regular dinner time with kiddos, you can filter in, you can move in these conversations about this stuff, and they're open. Everybody feels good because they're eating, and even like to this day, my daughters talk more at dinner than any other time. If I want anything, it's like dinner time is going to be the time, and like sometimes I got to like, okay, we got to go. Like, we got to get stuff done. Like, they'll talk and talk and talk.
Oh.
So that's a great opportunity.
Yeah. That's wonderful that you've established that place where they naturally feel relaxed enough to start sharing and blabbing. Because, if you go to their bedroom, they're doing stuff. It might not be something important, but they're occupied in doing things, and we're interrupting that activity. When everyone comes to the table and it's seen as communal, and the fact that you've gotten your daughters to a place where they just naturally open up, I mean, that's awesome. And I would say let them blab on as much as they want, because you will miss those days when they're not there doing it.
Oh, for sure. For sure. And the other thing that I've experienced in working, so I've got daughters. Women, I think, naturally converse and like around a table, like that's something that's natural for women. Boys, not so much. Like my daughter just had a new friend, like boy that's a friend over. Like he was silent at the dinner the other night, right? So but boys, but I've got buddies that just like, not making eye contact with anybody, eating his pasta. Anyway, it takes me back. I'm like, how nerve-wracking. And I'm trying to be funny and nice and whatnot. But boys do things, and like I've got a buddy, and he works on his car with his son a lot. And that's their conversation time, right? Like that's when they're like, hey buddy, and they're, turning a wrench or doing something. So I think boys, sometimes if you're in an activity or doing something, that's a more appropriate way. But just find it. You're going to know what your kiddos are like, but find those times to work in those conversations or work in the activities with them to do that introduction with them, because it just takes the stress way down.
It does. So, I've heard it as, men relate to each other shoulder to shoulder, meaning we're facing the same direction. We're attacking as a tribe. We're going to attack the other tribe shoulder to shoulder. And women relate more knee to knee. So they're facing each other. They're squared off with each other. That's how they connect. The oxytocin from the eye contact. So let's imagine for a minute, you're a dad and you're dating a woman, and she's bringing kids into the mix. And one of the kids is a son, because that's where you're in that situation that you're in. I think in most of those situations, it's sort of he's looking for the lead. You bring that boy to a dinner table and he's supposed to sit still and make conversation. That's not where most young men come alive. I mean, some do, but I'd say that's probably the minority. If you're looking, to relate to and connect with the son of or sons of the woman that you're dating, I would say, come on, man, like I got to do this thing. Can you give me a hand? You give them a task, it gives them a job. I got to clear out my garage here or something. And it's like, they're going to do whatever, this might, we can just kind of get to know each other a little bit. And like the two of you going through some kind of a trial, or, hey man, I got to go pick up this stuff from wherever. Do you want to come with me? Again, it's about the task. It's about the orientation. It's about getting something done. I think, boys tend to respond to that better. I think we like to be invited. I think we like to be given something where we feel useful, where we feel like we can do this. Hey man, I got to take some measurements on this. Can you hold the other end of this tape measure while I take some notes? I mean, things like that, that again, you're modeling, and not like you become his dad, but you are modeling for him. Hey, dude, this is the stuff that I do. I'm a physical guy. I was going to go to the batting cage. Do you want to come with? Do you and your mom want to come with me? And maybe the girls don't want to go do the batting, but you and him go. I think it's
maybe not. Yeah, maybe not like one of the first ones, but maybe eventually when you're building a relationship, and that's a good point. So Dallas, that takes collaboration with your romantic partner. That takes intentionality, and you really need to talk through this. In hey, how do we do this? What would be a good way to do it? Don't be like, okay, yeah, let's just do it on Sunday, and everybody comes over, and it's like, really take the time, think about it, think about your kids, think about their personalities, think if they're boys or girls, think about what they're interested in, how how you've seen them connect in the past, and then plan it out like that. And then, like you said, also, like you can, and those first ones really should be short and sweet. Just like not a long, you're not going away for the weekend. Like you're not planning a marathon day of anything. It's just like 45 minutes to an hour, and
pizza buffet. Well, you go to the park. If everything goes well, then you go to the pizza buffet. There's no sitting down at the table. People come and go. There's a crane game in the back that you can go and play.
Exactly.
I mean, like stuff like that. Dave and Buster's, where there's a lot of noise and a lot of people other than you. That can be interacted with.
Well, and how you always describe how you want to create an experience for the woman. Same thing. You wanted to create an experience for the kids and for this opportunity, because it really is an opportunity, right? And no matter how they show up, you can choose how you want to show up in the environment that you create.
And they're looking to you. You're the older, bigger man. They're looking to you to take the lead, and that there's going to be a conversation later where that mom is talking to their kids. So what do you think of Dallas? What do you think of Jude? Was it like, okay, what do we want them? What do we want those kids to say? Oh, he was fun. He was funny. He was, we just did stuff. Yeah. Yeah. That's that's a kid's reflection and summary of a positive experience with a new parent, with a new adult being brought into their family circuit.
Yep.
That's what you're shooting for. And that's the sort of experience. And again, I'm thinking about this as, I'm thinking about the woman with children, because that's where I have the experience. Oh man, making that kid giggle, laugh, have fun. Okay. Let me actually share with you that this was an experience I had with a single mom years ago. She had a little girl. Gosh, I want to say she was like under 3 years old. Like she was really little. And we had to go to the market. I'd seen the child, several times at this point, and we had to go to the market to pick up some groceries. And it was one of those things where the mom was tired after work, and the kid was like, I don't want to be doing this, and I'm there and I've got plenty of energy because I don't have kids that are draining my battery all during the day, and so we do our thing and all that kind of stuff. And we get to the car and we put away the groceries and we got to go take the shopping cart away. And I asked my date, I was like, are we in a rush right now? Do we have to be anywhere? She's like, no. And I said, can you just go with me on this one? She goes, sure. So I was like, hey, do you want to go, hop in the cart? And she's like, yeah. So I put her in the cart, and it was like a massive parking lot, and it was in the evening. So it was kind of dark, but there was lights on. And I just started pushing her in the shopping cart, like out to the outskirts of the parking lot. There were no cars around. And I started to hear these really weird sounds coming from the shopping cart. And I look over at the mom. I'm like, is she okay? Like, I don't know if she's like having a meltdown and crying and terrified. Like, I don't know what's going on. And the mom looks over and she's like, oh, she's having the time of her life. She was like squealing and giggling and, like all this stuff was happening. All I did was take 5 minutes to break out of the chores. And I took her on an adventure in a shopping cart in an empty parking lot. Dude. And then we well, there's a little more, and then we
creative,
stopped. Yeah. Well, it is creative, but it's also, I've talked about how you have a plan, but then you have to also follow your instincts. I sensed that everybody, me included, needed to break out from the should do's of the day for a minute. And especially this child needed to feel like she needed to go to an amusement park for a minute, pretty much. And I was like, well, I got a shopping cart. I'm going to give her a ride. So I gave her a ride. The mom loved it. It recharged her battery like 50%, like instantly, to see her daughter giggling and laughing and having a really cool, possibly core childhood moment.
Yeah.
And, and then we stopped at a planter. I took her out and there was like big gravel rocks, and she was like taking the gravel rocks and like dropping them into the cart to see if they would pass through or not. And so she was occupying herself in a good, constructive, kind of playground way. And then I had a moment with the mom, and we're just chatting about whatever. And then everybody was regulated after that. Like everybody felt good. That's an experience. And let me, the whole point of telling that story was you get in good with that parent through the child in ways that you simply cannot with her. And when you're out with the kids having fun or whatever, also understand that the more those kids are laughing, squealing, having fun, all that kind of stuff, the more the mom is getting turned on.
Amen to that. And I want to add that they're also experiencing a different type of masculinity with you, right? Because they might be used to their family, maybe their grandparents or aunts or uncles, but specifically their dad. And you're going to be very, we're all different people. You're going to be very different. So having that exposure and doing something like that and creating that environment, that is a good thing for kids to be able to see. And then like all of what you described is great.
I believe it was last week's episode we were talking about, do you have to spend a lot of money when you're on a date? And one of the core messages was it's really a man's creativity that is the truly scarce and precious resource. It's the same thing when you're interacting with the kids. It's your creativity that's going to really be the thing that shines out. That's going to be the thing that really delivers the experience, is your creativity.
Yeah, it does not cost a lot of money in this world to be creative and fun if you can approach it with the right mindset. It's like there's opportunities everywhere to be able to do that. Now, it's hard to release the burdens and the stresses of life to get into that. Basically, what I'm hearing you describe to me, Dallas, is get in that childlike, playful mode, and then live it with them, with their mom.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but like, why did I bother to become an adult if it wasn't so that I could break free from all the rules and do what I want and be the kid that I want to be?
Right.
That's why I pay my bills. It's not to pay the bills and be a good adult. I pay my bills so I can build forts in my living room when I watch a movie and sleep where I'm not supposed to, because I'm a grown-ass man taking care of myself and I get to do whatever I want now. That's why we're doing this. That it's weird that it's sort of like the black belt that becomes the white belt again. You make the full circle back to the beginning. The whole reason for doing all this work as a man is so you can be a fun-loving child again within your own safe container. All right, I got a question. I got a question because I know we're coming up on time here, and there is one group of children that we have not talked about, and it is a large group of children. It is the failure to launch little birdies, that left the nest and came back. Yeah. So we're gonna call this the children in their 20s, and we're saying hopefully they're not in their 30s. A lot of my clients actually struggle when there is a child in their 20s living at home with mom, because that's a whole different dynamic. Because it's like, are you going to do something with yourself? There's kind of a stale feeling about that. What do you have to say on that topic?
I would say that goes to those conversations that you're having around parenting, and what is your parenting? What's the parenting plan? How are you handling this? What's the situation? Are they paying rent? Are they responsible? Do they have life goals?
Is there a reason that they're living at home?
What is your mindset around it? Why are you paying all of their bills still and they don't have a job, or they're not going to school? Then you can be like, all right, I don't know that I want to move into again. So it's that vetting process.
So what I'm hearing, and this rings true with me, is it's an opportunity to have those parenting strategy session talks with somebody and reveal incompatibilities you might have, because you're like, well, I'm sorry, like the only time a child's coming back home is because they are saving up money for something, they're working towards something, there's a plan. It's not just we don't know what else to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I so me personally, and this is a conversation I have with almost all the women that I date now, is this idea around what happens to kids once they're 18 or 19 or 20, because mine are now in that age. And I'm not of the philosophy that they got to go out and automatically get their own, figure their life out, because look, man, I still don't, but I at 18 did not have my shit figured out. Right. And so expecting children to go and do that, I think is like a concept I don't quite understand in our general society these days. So I firmly believe that there's this incubation period, and you should be helping them to figure out their life, but how you're doing that is really, really important. And if that's not compatible, look, dude, you're like, basically it's not going to work, because you're got another decade of a man or a girl child that is still living, and you're not ever going to be able to have the relationship you want to have.
Yeah. And what I'm hearing again is you want to reveal all of this through deliberate discussions with a woman before you're introduced to their children, or before you introduce her to your children.
Yep, absolutely. The conversation is so important, I feel, Dallas, in this, and just, just having I don't, you can do this without having to be DA style, right? We've all met that woman who shows up with the 20 questions and comes at you DA style. Like, you don't want to be doing that, and you don't want to do it on the first date. Like, you tease me. It's like peeling the layers of that. Like, you don't want to be interrogated or deposed DA style on what your life is. You don't want, you want to peel the layers away slowly. You want to have these conversations. You want it to be enjoyable and interesting. See what kind of reactions. If the reactions are bad, then that's I mean,
and one way to avoid the interrogation or the drilling into somebody is to see this woman. And I mean, maybe this might be the healthy way to look at it. This woman should be a resource to you.
Yeah.
And so when you're having these discussions, it's not to find out her opinions. It's for you as a dad to get good, intel from a female, as a resource of how you can parent and understand your children better. If you approach it that way, it's going to open her up, because she's going to feel respected. She's going to feel heard. She's going to feel valued. She's going to feel like you're really are seeing her as a potential future component of your family.
Yeah. Maybe we need to do an entire episode, just that concept and that mindset, because I love that. It's something that I practice, because I'm surrounded by Dallas and all the other dads and men and everything else. I have some, I've got some female acquaintances and friends, but having those intimate conversations with a mother that you have a romantic interest with, that might want to parent and mother, that is a great resource. And mothers are a great resource, Dad. We don't, it's the knowledge and the insight and what they can, in a perfect, we're unfortunately, us dads that are listening to this may not have experiences, but when you have that dynamic with somebody and you have that relationship and you're doing it with the kids, it is absolutely freaking phenomenal having that yin and that yang and that masculine and feminine, that energy and the collaboration and the ability to support and love each other and have your and surround and lift up your families around it. It's absolutely amazing. And the only way you get to that is what you're describing, which is a resource.
See her as a resource. And let me just zoom out one more step. I see women as resources, one, because I'm a dating coach. So I am always listening to them and trying to understand where they're coming from, what's going on. I'm always asking them, so when I, in dating, when I say this or when I do this, how would that make you feel? Or how does that make you feel? I see all the women that are either platonic friends or that I'm on dates with. Every woman that I encounter is a resource for me to interact with women. So she doesn't even have to have kids to see it as a resource. And there's a great expression of how we can see this with other men. Every man is my superior in some way.
Yeah. And absolutely.
When I approach every man that I see as they are my superior in some way, they are a resource. I can learn from them. I can get from them. It is very hard for that other person to not like me if I treat them like a valuable, precious resource. I just need to find what it is for me to learn and absorb from them. And again, if I see them that way, that DA doesn't stand a chance to continue to be locked up. It's like, and if they are, okay, let them go, let them, they're not the one for you. Yeah.
That's the sooner I see and hear that, the better. Cause it's like, okay. Yeah. So we got sidetracked a little bit, but it's really, really important. And maybe we'll think about how we can do that and really talk about the mindset, create the mindset around that, how to do it, et cetera. I think I'll put that on the list, but I got a couple things I want to hit before we wrap up, and we're going a little bit long. You hit on the topic of, they're gonna say something, well, he's fun or whatever. So the conversation post is gonna come up. Do not force that conversation. Let them bring it up. Don't be like, hey, in the car ride home, what did you think? Do you like, don't. Like,
that oven will tell you when it's ready.
Exactly. The kids will bring it up, and just validate their feelings, right? Like, if there's something that they don't like, if there's something that, like, oh, hey, it's okay. Appreciate you sharing that with me. You don't want to be doing a hard sell. You don't want to be getting defensive. Like, you want them to have what they're doing, gentlemen, is they are developing their own relationship with that person. So you need to allow that to evolve and happen. And you need to cultivate that, if you will. And that's going to take some time, right? So first meeting, they're going to share. Maybe they don't like it. Maybe there are things that bothered them, and that's why you also make sure that it is a slow ramp up. That's what I want to say after that first. It's not like you go from meeting in the park and then she's spending every week, every waking night there anymore. Like, you need to then allow the opportunity for that relationship to then evolve with them over a slow period of time.
Those children are in that oven. You got to let them warm up with the oven.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And the other part, and I mean, this applies to almost all dating with women. We see a lot of times our mindset is, I have to be patient. Okay, that's one way to look at it, but that's also like, I have to hold my breath. That is not fun to wear you down. The other way, the mindset shift is, let the time do the work.
Yeah.
You popped it in there. Let the time do the work. They'll get back to you. You had one interaction with the child. Let that sink in. Let that happen. Let the time do the work. When you put the, it's not the WD-40, but you have a rusty bolt, you spritz that stuff on. You don't try 5 seconds later to take that thing off. You let it sit. You let it sink in. You let the time and the chemicals do the work.
Yep.
That's
exactly.
And that, for me, when I look at being patient in any situation romantically, as if I see it as, well, I got to wait. Oh God, like, how long do I have to wait is my next question. If I look at it as, time's doing the work, man, go do something else. You go do some other work while that time does that work. It's like, that feels balanced. That feels natural. That's a whole lot less effort on my end.
Yeah, and you're still cultivating your relationship with her, and then it's a slow evolving process. I think if there's a big takeaway from all of what we talked about today is it is a slow evolving process.
Yes.
Take your time. Do not, like, as much as you want to fight that urge to be a blowtorch, to like pow or plug and play or whatever you're thinking, like pull the reins, talk to your buddy, get Dallas involved, because Dal, we talk about a lot of dating and we'll get into more relationship. The second half, I guess, if you will, what Dallas does tremendously well is help you to navigate relationships like what we're talking about here. And so let's finish. There's one more thing that we do need to talk about, and that's the X factor. The X being the EX factor in this, because I firmly believe there's a right way and a wrong way to approach this. And the right way and the respectful way, no matter what your ex is like, no matter if she has a full-blown personality disorder or issues or whatever, is that you need to give a heads up to them that you're introducing her children to somebody in your life.
You need to give your ex a heads up.
Your ex a heads up.
Yeah, you don't want that
happening.
You don't want a surprise. Yeah.
You don't want this to come back from the kids that they met somebody. Now, when you do this is going to be dependent upon what that relationship is like. You don't, if you've got somebody that's causing problems that you feel as this is going to be an issue, that it might spark things, then that might be a very short window of notice before it happens, so that it doesn't become like a big problem, or she is alienating the kids, or keep, like, whatever they might be doing. But having that respectful conversation. Now, you might have some legality stuff around this too that you might have written into your agreement, which lots of them do. They're basically unenforceable. It's more to keep that respectful tone and mindset around, hey, there's going to be romantic relationships. Hey, kids might be involved, but let's do this in a manner that's appropriate.
I just have to imagine if I'm the ex, if I'm divorced and my ex-wife is introducing my children to another man. Heck yeah, I want to know about that. Yeah. I mean, I want a heads up on that. I want the ability. I mean, so it only makes sense if I would want that. It's only considerate to realize, well, she would want that too. She wants to know who her children are being exposed to. That's only fair. And the other thing I would say, along with those notifications, I see it as a notification message, that we're sending them, not necessarily a text message, but you're informing them this is happening. Yes. You allow them to speak, but at the same time, you need iron curtain boundaries, to protect you, the kids, and the other woman coming in, saying, well, this is happening. I'm not asking for your permission. This is happening. And, and that's just, I imagine, just a major, major part of the development in the divorce dust, as you call it, getting all that settled down. Part of that is that boundary falling into place.
Exactly, which is another reason why you need to take your time, let the dust settle, be divorced, get through the seasons before you're dating, because some of those boundaries may need to be established in that time frame with your ex, because you don't want to have the same relational dynamic. In to kind of put a bow on this, because you don't want to have the same relational dynamic with your new romantic partner, taking those seasons has hopefully helped you to see what the dynamic was that was unhealthy, that led to your divorce, helped you to establish some of these boundaries, perhaps that you didn't have, and then allow you to create those values that we talk about and intentions, and then start dating, and then take the vetting process, and then have all of that in place to have this be a highly successful venture into introducing your kids. So if we're kind of putting a bow on it, Dallas, that like kind of helps to create a timeline for the dads listening to like, why should it take me 2 or 3 years before I meet somebody and then introduce it? That's exactly why, because you just have created a foundation that raises your probability for a successful, awesome relationship that we described earlier with somebody that creates a complementary parenting style, and you are so attracted to this person, and your kids love her, and you are just that dynamic man that her kids love you, and the probability of this being success has just gone through the roof, as opposed to what I did, which is like 1, 2, 3, 4, until I figured out like I haven't done any of this, and I really need to stop, and then I did spend the 2 or 3 years figuring my shit out in order for that to happen.
You know, and you're protecting yourself and especially your children from so much stress and chaos and trauma and heartache, attachments that are formed and torn apart. You're protecting everybody from that. So again, you're not building the quickest little raft you can to get off the island. You are taking your time, felling trees, strong vines, lashing that sucker together so that when you go out on the ocean again, you have a solid vessel that you are sailing under. Yeah. Right, let me wrap this up with an equally large bow, but from a whole different angle.
Okay.
Jude, I have learned so much about what you divorced dads go through in this episode. And I just have to say, like I had at the beginning, when you laid out sort of the complicated situation, I have nothing but respect, compassion, and just respect for what dads go through to do it well.
Yeah.
I simply don't have to navigate all of these other waters. But I can tell you this, when you do navigate the challenges, particularly exercising the discipline to go slow, masculinity is forged in discipline.
Yep.
We do not grow in our masculine energy, fire, heat, sexiness, confidence. The only place that we get it is through discipline. And patience, taking the time to do it right is one of those disciplines. And I just have to say, as much as I'm glad I don't have a lot of these challenges and I don't have to exercise the same level of discipline, there's a part of me that's like, I can't grow into the same size man because heck, I don't have 45-pound plates for me to bench press with. I only got 25, 35-pound plates to bench with. So again, it's just respect. You know, every man is my superior in some way. Respect to the dads out there that are dating.
Yeah, and that dads is why you are a catch. One of the many reasons why you are a catch is that being forged in the fire, getting through that, and then man, let me tell you, you show up like we're describing here today. That is sexy as hell for a woman. And she's going to love it. Yeah. So, you know, take that time and do it. And trust me, if you make mistakes, you're going to make mistakes, right? Like I've made most every one of them, but that's why I'm here trying to share all of them with you guys. So maybe like I can keep you from 1 or 2, or hopefully if you're smarter than me, more than that. But yeah, this was good. We went really long, but it's a really important topic. I know there's a lot of stress around it, like I said. And Dallas, thanks for all of your input. And you know, you bring a great perspective to everything all the time. We are, let's see, it's this week we're doing our Dads Dating After Divorce Q&A. So Dallas is graciously giving some of his time. Check out the events page at thedivorcedadvocate.com and download that to your calendar. And then next month, we're going to be doing a live in-person Q&A for those of you in the Denver metro area here. Or if, hey, you want to come in and spend some time with us and have some fun, you're welcome to do that too. But that's going to be on the calendar here too soon. So check that out at thedivorcedadvocate.com on the events page.
And if you haven't liked and subscribed to the podcast yet, please like and subscribe now. Share it with your friends so that this message can get out there for everybody. Thank you, Jude. Looking forward to talking to you next week.
Thanks, Dallas.
Be the hero of your own movie. If your life was a movie and it started now, forget about about whatever financial disasters you've had, personal failures, relationship failures. What would the hero of your life's movie do right now?